Okay, so this next post, we have a blog post from a content creator named Zahn, feminist content creator, speaking on if marriage is so great, why do you have to convince women? Why do you have to like keep bombarding women with messages and shaming them into conforming? And then I have a woman that jumped into her comments with data talking about how marriage does benefit men more but decrease the benefits are decreased for women. She gives data, titles, and all of that. And then finally, I end with a Reddit post. This woman is in a terrible marriage, and you can see how she has this stress level of parenting with this man that she's married to. And it's just like, I know that this is Reddit, but you can see in many of these examples how marriage is zapping the life force, the happiness, and all of that from some of these women simply because, you know, men, men. Anyways, watch these videos, watch these posts, and let me know what you think. Join the conversation, like, comment, share, all of that good stuff. And I'm still burrowing towards 70,000 followers on YouTube. Go ahead and smash the follow button if you're not yet following me. Here are the posts. Have y'all seen this woman, Zahn? She is a content creator on Facebook. She has a Substack, and I'm not sure if where she is on the other platforms, but her takes are amazing and feminist, and I definitely applaud them. I was tagged in this post on her Facebook, and it says, "Why is everyone obsessed with convincing women to get married? We want women to overlook the obvious facts about marriage so that men don't have to improve." So I wasn't planning on doing this whole blog post, but it was so good that I'm not even sure what I would edit out. So let's just get to reading. She says, "My social media news feeds are currently inundated with two themes: women celebrating freedom from abusive men, and content exhorting women to get married and often openly encouraging us to settle. It's not an accident that women are getting competing messages about marriage." All right, backlash against feminist marriage progress. Women are finally breaking free of abusive men. They're divorcing them en masse or vowing to avoid them altogether. And like every social movement, the backlash has been swift and severe. David Brooks recently advised people to focus on getting married, evidently confusing data showing a good marriage makes life happier with the idea that getting married, regardless of circumstance of person, is something everyone should aspire to do. She says incels are constantly telling women they're going to end up alone with their cats if they dare not settle for foul smelling, aggressive monsters. This part right here, I'm constantly getting long, whiny comments from men telling me I'm wrong about marriage and that marriage is actually terrible for men and highly beneficial to women. At that point, it's just like, you're right. You should totally not never get married. We're going to tell the women to never marry you because it is terrible for men. That's when you have to lean in and agree with them. All right, and she says, and everyone everywhere keeps touting the supposed benefits of marriage, even though those benefits mostly accrue to men. We've collectively decided that if it's good for men, it is good for everyone, since only men are fully human. The most interesting aspect of that article is how many angry men it attracts. They devote endless paragraphs, and in the case of at least one angry divorced bro, 2 days and hundreds of comments to telling me how good marriage is for women and how terrible I am for asserting otherwise and how I'm going to be single for life. Don't threaten me with a good time. So, what's going on here? Why are men so obsessed with convincing women that marriage is actually good for us? She says, teaching women to ignore the realities of marriage. She says the answer is simple because doing so lowers the bar for men. There are lots of things that are obviously good for us. Access to quality medical care when we need it, for example, or having plenty of money, or having a loving family. We don't need someone to tell us these things are good. We don't need to be inundated with empty think pieces and fake studies asserting that money makes life better or life is happier when you're not being abused. Because the goodness of these things is obvious. Just like the badness of marriage for most women is obvious. All you need to do is look around at the women you know. Do any of them have a marriage you would want? If you're a teenager, look at the marriages of the adults in your life. Do those marriages seem happy and good? How many women do you know who have given up dreams, careers, hobbies, and friendships for men who would never do the same? How many women do you know who seem alone or mostly alone in parenting? How many women do you know in abusive relationships? How many women do you know who have to get help from friends, mothers, and coworkers instead of their husbands? How many men do you know who seem to earnestly venerate and respect their partners? Can you name even 10 couples whose marriage you would want for yourself or your daughter? 5? 1? How do you feel when you think about your daughter in any of the relationships your friends have? The evidence is everywhere in what happens to women when they try to leave bad relationships and when they stay, and how marriage affects women's life prospects, and in the low value men that exceptional, stunning, brilliant women end up with. And this part is so important because people keep saying, how did she not know? And why do they keep doing this? And why didn't she see? And blah. Okay, because we begin socializing girls to obsess over marriage from birth, because that is how much work it takes to get them to ignore the plain realities in front of them. We start programming and indoctrinating women to want to be married, to be caretakers. We thrust baby dolls in little girls' arms from the time that they can hold a baby doll. This is programming. This is the indoctrination and socialization early on. So to know that will help you stop asking these overly simplistic questions that the answers are right in front of your face. She says marriage can be wonderful, so can men, but there aren't enough good men. And so for most women, marriage is little more than a prison that begins with a party. It is the highest risk gamble most women will ever undertake, with a lifetime of financial and other losses when you lose the bet. Women know this, so we have to convince them that what they're seeing isn't actually there, that the women around them are in some way defective, and that's why they have defective marriages. One way we accomplish this is by encouraging competition and distrust between women, and another is through ageism. If younger women distrust and dislike mothers, viewing them as irrelevant and hopelessly uncool, then they're a lot less likely to see their own futures in the lives and marriages of their mothers and other older women. Aggressive gender socialization, lack of solidarity among women, and constant messaging about how terrible it is to be single work together to suspend women's critical thinking. Still, though, it's hard not to see the horrors unfolding in front of you, which is why so many women are waking up and saying, I don't. That's why we're seeing such a strong push to get married or just to give him a chance and to settle in the hopes of not ending up alone. She says, so really, why the obsession with convincing women marriage is good? If women believe that they need to get married to be happy, healthy, and worthy, they'll start overlooking red flags. They'll worry their standards are too high, that their thoughtful judgments are emotional overreactions, and that we owe every man a chance and a date. This makes it easier for low quality men to find partners, and wives have immense value to men in a patriarchy where the wife is, listen to this, we've talked about this, where the wife is a built in servant and sex bot whom an entire culture will continuously gaslight into doing and being more, no matter how hard she's already working. The goal is to get women to lower their standards so men don't have to change, and so that the next generation can be trapped as their mothers. One thing is clear, anytime a man prattles on about how marriage is bad for men and women should want to get married or women need to lower their standards, the quiet part is lower their standards for me because I'm a person of low value. They tell on themselves if you listen closely enough, because why would any man who has lots of great options or who doesn't actually care about marriage give any thought at all to what women are doing as a group? The messages you hear in the zeitgeist at your church from many of your friends and family on social media and from every brain dead columnist who thinks he knows what's best for you aren't really for you. They are, like everything else in this culture, in service of men. Don't listen to them. Your standards can never be too high in a world where the bar for men is somewhere beneath hell. I love her. This woman is a great woman to follow on social media or her Substacks. And I don't even need to editorialize this at all because she said enough. Okay, so then Alexa, who's one of my Facebook friends, says arguments and data in favor of you wanting to get married. You won't get called names like bitter, cat lady, feminazi, selfish. Arguments and data in favor of you not wanting to get married. And then she has a whole long comment about why women may not want to get married. And I actually think I'm going to make that its own post because this has gone on long enough. So I'm going to make Alexa's comment on why women may not want to get married and the arguments that favor it in its own post. So stay tuned. It's going to be a part 2 to this. So I just read this whole blog post from Zahn asking the question, why is everyone obsessed with convincing women to get married? We want women to overlook the obvious facts about marriage so that men don't have to improve. Okay, so my homie made a comment on that post saying arguments and data in favor of you wanting to get married. So you won't get called names like bitter, cat lady, feminazi, selfish. And then she says arguments and data in favor of you not wanting to get married. And then throughout her whole comment, she's giving research, dates, journal names, and all of that. All right, so let's get into it. She says, research from American Journal of Sociology 2021 found that married women report higher rates of psychological distress compared to single women, particularly when they have children. And then she gives the source. And then it says, midlife and beyond, psychological well-being in marriage and family. American Journal of Sociology, women's health often declines in marriage while men's health improves. The Journal of Health and Social Behavior found that marriage generally improves men's physical and mental health, but has a mixed or negative effects on women's health due to stress, caregiving responsibilities, and gendered labor divisions. Source, she gives the source right here. Go ahead and look that up if you want to. All right. Social relationships and health. A flashpoint for health policy. Journal of Health Social Behavior. Economic disadvantages, marriage increases women's financial dependence and vulnerability. A study in the Journal of Marriage and Family found that women's earnings tend to stagnate or decline after marriage, while men's incomes increase. And we've talked about this before. There is a motherhood penalty and a fatherhood bonus. Married fathers get more money when they start having babies and get a wife. Women's income tends to drop. It happens because typically women are the ones that are the primary parent, expected to call out, expected to change their hours to accommodate the children. And that's what this next part talks about. The gender wage gap and the rise of women's economic independence. Journal of Marriage and Family. Divorce disproportionately impacts women financially. And that's because more times than not, a woman has to pull herself out of the workforce more. And so she is impacted more because her earnings have dropped or her opportunities have dropped because of this time out of the workforce. A 2023 Pew Research report found that after divorce, women's income drops by an average of 41%, while men's income declines by only 20%. Source, Pew Research 2023. Gender and economic outcomes after divorce. All right, 3. Division of labor and gender roles. Women still do the majority of unpaid labor in marriage. I actually read this one. All right, it says the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics 2022 found that married women spend nearly 2 times more time on household chores and childcare than married men, even when both work full time. And that came from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And globally, it's that way as well. All right, it says American Time Use Survey. Marriage increases women's caregiving burdens. Studies show that married women provide significantly more emotional and physical care to aging parents and relatives than married men, increasing stress levels and reducing financial independence. Source, National Institute on Aging in 2020. Gender and caregiving, a social inequality. Number 4, Increased risk of abuse. Married women are more likely to experience domestic violence. A study from the CDC found that 1 in 4 married women experience intimate partner violence at some point compared to lower rates among single women. So that was from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in 2021. Married women face higher risk of financial abuse. The National Coalition Against Domestic Violence reports that financial control and manipulation are more common in marriage than in cohabitating or dating relationships. Source NCADV 2022. Economic abuse and control in marriage. 5. Life expectancy and quality of life. Married men live longer, but married women don't. A 2022 study from the University of Michigan found that while married men tend to have longer lifespans than single men, marriage does not provide the same longevity benefits for women. That was from Marriage and Mortality, Gender Disparities in Lifespan, Journal of Gerontology. Widowed and divorced women report higher life satisfaction than married women. A study from Harvard University found that women who divorced or became widowed often reported greater personal growth, independence, and happiness compared to their married counterparts. And all of that goes exactly with the commentary that women who have been married or have been divorced, have been married and divorced or are widowed do not want to remarry, while men rush to get married because men do have more, they get more benefits of it because they get to attach to women and suck women's time, energy, and resources because we are literally a resource that helps to keep them alive. They get to make more money because they have a woman, and this is supported by the Pew Research. They have a woman, or the labor statistics. They have a woman that is doing most of the care of the home, that's doing the laundry, that's fixing the meals, that's doing the grocery shopping, that's providing the child caretaking situation, that's making the appointments, all of this, so that they can concentrate. They can offload all of that, and then they can just go to work. They don't have to worry about all that extra because they have a woman at home doing all of that. So all of that works together to create all of the benefits that men get. And because it's taking from women, it takes some of our life force. And that's the reason why women are saying, I don't want to do this again. I put in my time. I'm good. I did that, been there, done that, got the souvenirs. I'm good. But I really like that my homie Alexa put all of this together so that if you need to find the studies, she put it there. She put it with the titles and everything. So just go back, rewind it, and have at it. Join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Posts like this solidify why I am team let the birth rate plummet to hell. So many of these men do not deserve families. They don't deserve relationships. They deserve to be lonelier. I want to say that I think that we can make this loneliness epidemic grow wider. Many of these women need to figure out a game plan, execute, and get away from these people. And these men need to be alone. The loneliness crisis needs to get lonelier. They deserve it. This was posted in the Am I the A-hole subreddit. No, this woman is not the a-hole. I just want to put that out there. There are some triggering themes in this post. I'm just putting it out there. I'm going to jump into it now. Husband, don't make me slap you to bring you back to your senses. That title alone says she needs to figure out how she's going to divorce him. But let's read the post. My 3 and 5-year-old are extremely picky eaters and always make excuses or don't finish meals. This really irks my husband, and he is very demanding, forceful, and authoritative with them and me when I don't agree. My 3-year-old was fussy as usual for lunch today and saying, no, I don't want to eat. I set a timer for 30 minutes and said I'm putting the plate away when the timer goes off. So she'll be hungry at night time if she doesn't eat. My husband kept trying to force her to eat. Eat, take a bite, eat your food, to which she rebelled more, started crying, and barely took a couple of bites. My 5-year-old cleared most of his plate for lunch, but left about a quarter because he said he was full. My husband demanded he finish the food. He refused politely, saying, no, thank you, I'm full. My husband kept getting more and more mad and saying he had to finish it because we don't waste food and he hadn't eaten much today, etc. My son came to me and asked if it was okay that he was done. My husband followed him and said, "Don't ask mommy. I already told you to finish it. Go sit down and finish your food." Again, my son said, "No, thank you. I'm full. I don't want to eat more." So then I told my husband not to force him. If he was full, he can finish the rest later. I also reminded him that he needs to stop being so demanding and forcing kids to eat or finish their food. It's causing more issues and making mealtime more stressful. It becomes a huge headache and having a negative effect on their health, especially because it's starting to cause a feeding disorder. And I have to deal with it the majority of the time as the primary parent. We have had this conversation many, many, many times about how to handle feeding issues and what the protocol is per feeding therapists and past OTs and all the child therapists and psychological experts I follow online. For example, setting timers, giving choices, allowing them to try one bite and have a backup meal, usually Greek yogurt with fruit or PB&J if they don't like the main meal. I also keep low sugar treats they love on hand like organic fruit popsicles or jello as an incentive. I understand their need to have some control over what they eat and try to make it positive and stress free for all of us. I talk to him about what feeding therapists suggest, send him articles to read, share videos, etc. to improve his approach. He always says, okay, he understands, but then he continues to bully. He got really mad at me today when I told him our son ate plenty and to stop forcing him if he was full. And after I reminded him of our multiple conversations regarding feeding techniques, I then told our son we don't waste food, so he'll need to finish it later during dinner. My husband started raising his voice at me and saying I was going behind his back. All three of us were literally standing together by letting him do whatever he wants and wasting food. Again, I said, we've already talked about this so many times, and I'm literally talking to you about this right now. How is it behind your back? He kept getting aggressive with me and gaslighting, so then it escalated and we got into a fight. I cursed a couple of times during our conversation, not at him, but in the context of what I was expressing. And then he said I was cursing at him and I better stop. I said, I'm not cursing at you. I'm just cursing in context because I'm frustrated with this always being an issue and having this conversation over and over again. I told him to read up on feeding issues and educate himself because I was effing tired of having to deal with this constantly and the resulting defiance and mealtime battles with the kids. He kept accusing me of cursing at him, saying I wasn't allowed to curse at all and that it didn't matter if I was cursing at him or in the conversation. He got more and more aggressive, so then I did curse at him out of sheer frustration and overwhelming stress. So then he threatened to slap me to bring me back to my senses. I said, "Are you really threatening to be physically abusive because I cursed?" And then he started laughing and mockingly saying, "Stop it. That's not physical abuse." And reiterated he would only do it to, he would do it to only bring you back to your senses. Needless to say, I was not calm at all by that point. I dared him to go ahead and do it, and then I'd call the cops on him and press charges. It was a full blown fight by then, and he just kept arguing, threatening me, and occasionally laughing and mocking me, then cursed at me while claiming I couldn't curse at all and just escalating the fight. I definitely blew up at the end, called him a few choice words and cursed back at him before walking away. I feel like complete right now. I have a headache. I've been crying for an hour. I feel like I'm stuck in a very toxic relationship. I'm sure most of us feel like you're stuck in a very toxic relationship, but you don't have to be stuck. I don't know your situation, but I do know that you're going to have to start figuring out a game plan and executing. She says, if you read all this, thank you. I'm not sure what I'm even asking here. I just needed to vent, I guess. And I feel like my reaction to him threatening to slap me back to my senses was warranted and that he was being abusive. Am I wrong? No, you're absolutely not wrong. This is definitely Darvo. And someone does mention that in the comments. Darvo, it stands for deny, attack, reverse victim offender. So reverse victim offender. So he denied that he was doing anything. And then when she brought it up, he's saying, you know what? You're being rude. You're being rude by cursing at me. And so now the whole situation is flipped. The whole situation which she brought was this is how you're making mealtime stressful. So now he is the victim because she cursed. So he has completely flipped it around. And so they're not even talking about the food situation and how he bullies his kid. This his kids up, plural. Now he's the victim, and now he's justified in talking to her crazy. And now her brain gets all muddled. Like, how did we even get to this point? We're talking about food and mealtime and how you're making it stressful. But he's using Darvo. Let's look at a few of the comments. Bro Bear says, start recording these conversations. It will be your evidence for the custody hearing. Historical Bunch says, not all states allow you to record someone without their consent. So depending on what state she's in, she might not be allowed to use any recordings in court. She says, I do live in the United States, and no, it's not legal to record without permission. And whenever I've tried recording with myself, he knows, and he will calm down, but keep arguing and gaslighting until I reach my boiling point. Then he'll point the finger and say, see, you're being hysterical. That's also reactive abuse. Reactive abuse is where someone pushes your buttons, keeps pushing your buttons until you react. And then they're like, see, she's crazy. You see how she does me? You see how she treats me? That's called reactive abuse. And that's another manipulation tactic that these abusive people use. Now, muffled oatmeal brings up Darvo right here. That's the reason why these conversations are so important, so that other people bring in these topics that you might not have known. But these are manipulation tactics that these people use over and over, so we need to highlight them. Muffled Oatmeal says that's called Darvo and reactive abuse. Oh, okay. So she talks about reactive abuse too. If you like to look into them, not having family in state is not an issue if they are capable of flying you out or coming to get you and the kids. Leave. He's not going to change, and this is him setting the stage for your eventual beating. Okay, so she brings up Darvo, but she doesn't actually tell her what it is. The OP says, I've never heard of this term. Thank you. I'll research it more. I've already talked about what Darvo is in this example and how he has flipped it on her and how he is pushing her buttons to make her react. I don't know if this woman is going to leave. I don't know. But I'm using these as cautionary tales so that you see how people push buttons to make you react. I don't know if all of us would react the same way, but it's purposely done to make you look crazy or make you look hysterical or out of control. Anyways, join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Let's make the male epidemic of loneliness increase even more. Like, comment,